Serious, parents who have adopted a older child, 5 and up, how has it gone for you? Do you regret it or would you recommend other parents considering adoption look into an older child? My story is a bit different. I was coaching a soccer team and had a kid in the foster program on the team. He was 13. Over the course of the season my wife and I really got to know him and saw how bad his foster parents were. At the end of the season we asked him if he wanted to come live with us instead. It's been 9 years since then. We had rough patches, but burden. It was an easy decision for us and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. We've had 4 of his other biological siblings live with us at one time or another as they've aged out of foster care. They all have their own unique problems, but all kids do. His 18-year-old sister asked to come quarantine with us so we've got her staying here now. His brothers and sister are all just extra family and our biological little ones, 3 and 5, call them all brother-sister. He's 22 now and almost done with college and hopes to be a police officer. Sadly my wife and I will be moving out of state soon and we'll miss him like crazy, but no, we've prepared him for life outside our home. We'll still be there for him of course, but we're excited to see him thrive independently. His girlfriend of for years is pushing him to move to our new state once they both finish school so they may still be back near us soon enough. I adopted a 15-year-old, he was heck on wheels and made a lot of really poor choices. He's now 20, and I am so proud of the man he became. It was a horrible time trying to get him to understand that abuse isn't love and that we wanted the best for him, but he's doing great now and is working really hard to create a loving family of his own. Do I suggest adopting older kids? Heck yes. The biggest reason is because I grew up in foster care. All I wanted was my own family. It's hard, it's taxing, and you have a lot of rewiring to treat their hurts and make them better so they know you're not going to do the same to them, but every minute is worth it. I don't have much being a 15-year-old, but I have given you an award with the coins I have. You are a great human being. We adopted our eldest daughter at 10. We actually adopted her baby half-sister first. After the mom met us, since we were doing this via foster care, she asked if we'd adopt her other daughter too. She had been in and out of foster care most of her life, and her bio mom selflessly made the decision to let her go for stability and safety. We definitely weren't planning to adopt an older child, we already had a 6-year-old biological child, but after meeting the 10-year-old, we knew we'd want her to be a part of our family. It's been 16 years and it definitely hasn't always been easy, but we have no regrets. We love our daughter like our own. She was challenging to raise the first few years, definitely had some trust issues with us and some deep-seated abandonment issues. Family therapy helped. Every once in a while, like once every few years or so, these issues resurface. She still struggles with depression and anxiety. It'd be lying if I said this doesn't worry me, it does, but she seems to have a handle on it. She's always been incredibly smart and talented. She just finished her master's degree, has had a successful career thus far, and she's engaged to a wonderful man. They were supposed to get married this summer, now we aren't sure. Thanks COVID, it's almost odd that she has really excelled in everything she's ever tried. She thinks it's mostly due to good luck. We call her, half-jokingly, our achiever. Some of her success was due to our parenting I'm sure, but most of it is just her and how she's wired. I'm proud to be her mom. I'm asking because I adopted my daughter when she was age 10. It was pure heck to begin with as it was not shared with us she had serious psychological issues. After 7 years of therapy and many tears, we had a breakthrough. Now 27 years later, I was asked if I recommended doing it. I was at a loss if I should have been honest or just say yes, because once you get past the issues that will surely arise, it's a wonderful thing to do. Yeah, be honest, so if those parents adopt a child that needs help they can get it sooner. I fostered 7 and adopted 2. All girls. I got them between the ages of 12 to 15. I took that age because they were hard to place and I knew they were coming with loads of issues. My second to youngest had been part of a child pornography ring run by her parents. She was my biggest challenge and still is. She is the human embodiment of Eeyore. She made it through college, got her law degree, passed the bar and self-commits at least once a year. She's schizophrenic and still suicidal. One of my middle girls was severely beaten by alcoholic parents and she has a slight drinking problem and thinks nothing of swatting her kids. She knows if I see one mark on them or if them say anything I will take them. The others have mostly self-esteem issues. They are all grown now. I do it all again. These are my kids and I love them. I also had one biological daughter and a stepson. The stepson is the only one I regret. It's definitely not for everyone. You sound amazing. The children were very lucky to have you as a mom. I feel I got lucky. He was 9 when we adopted him, but he was just grateful to have a home and people who loved him. My wife and I love him dearly as he does us. Thank you for this comment. I posted this below, but I want to thank you specifically. It seems like you have a great view of being an adoptive parent. A lot of people in this thread are using hero-savior language, and it really mischaracterizes the parent-child relationship. For anyone wondering why that can be troublesome, here's a blog and quote that explain it way better than I could. Conversations suggesting I am a hero for being my son's mom suggests he is more difficult to love or parent than my biological son. It suggests it takes heroic effort to choose to love someone who doesn't share your blood or DNA. We are no saviors. We are parents. Telling an adoptee they're lucky, their parents are heroes, implies they should be thankful they were adopted. But what if part of their heart grieves this aspect of their identity? I took guardianship of my son's half-sister when she was 14. Their father, who is not and will never be a part of my son's life, was abusive and tried to molest her once when he was drunk. As a result, she was hypersexual and acted out. Her mother was a pushover who didn't know how to handle her, so she was put into the system. I knew she wasn't a bad kid, so I stepped in and said I'd take her. It was rough that first year. She tested the boundaries a lot until she realized that I wasn't going to give up on her. I think it also helped that her baby brother adored her and my parents welcomed her with open arms. We found her a good therapist that she clicked with, and that really helped her work through her issues. She finished school with good grades, met her boyfriend who is wonderful with her. She has kids of her own now and is a fantastic mother. Best decision I ever made was taking her in. Thank you for sharing and thank you for being you. My experience adopting is one of the greatest experiences I could describe to you, and if you want kids, I strongly recommend you look into it. My kids were siblings aged 7, 4, and 6 months, so it was never unknown to them. The bio parents abused them and things were a bit tough at first, but other than matters of faith, it is the most rewarding thing I've ever done. My oldest is a student at Purdue and is studying abroad in Ireland right now. My middle daughter will be attending Purdue in the fall. My youngest is learning Japanese in middle school right now, and I suspect she'll go to either IU or Purdue when she graduates high school. As a homosexual couple, my partner and I adopted 2 siblings, aged 9 and 10, both girls. The reality is I love them both, I'm proud of them, they are a light of my life, and I regret every decision that I made that resulted in me having them. Children who experience trauma and suffering at a young age can become productive, well-balanced adults. But it's long odds. What do you mean I regret every decision that I made that resulted in me having them? My daughter is of a different race, so it was never something we could have hidden if we wanted to. We made a picture book that tells the whole story of her adoption, the trip to China and back, etc. Before she could even speak, we made that part of what we told her. At least once a week we did that as a bedtime story, and continued for many years. It wasn't until age 11 that she really started having some serious questions about abandonment by her birth mom, etc. But it wasn't a total shock because we had introduced a lot of it earlier. We adopted a 5-year-old girl. She's now 12. Don't regret it at all. But it has been extremely hard. She has been diagnosed with PTSD, reactive attachment disorder, and most recently bipolar disorder. She has been in therapy since we adopted her. Much has improved, but she still has extreme anger issues. She has run away from home 3 times. She has been inpatient psych twice. Her school has reported us to DHR. When she gets out of control, we have to restrain her to prevent her from hurting herself or us. She told her teacher about an incident when we had to restrain her, so they reported it and a social worker showed up at our door that night. I wouldn't recommend adopting an older child to someone unless I know they are willing to put in the work. Love doesn't cure all. What's DHR? That aside, I can tell that you do love her a lot, and that you are desperately doing whatever you can to help her in any way possible. Thank you for being a good person, and a good parent. My wife and I adopted an older girl from our state's foster system. The girl was 13 when we adopted her, and we were told she had a rough childhood full of abuse and she had been diagnosed with general mood disorder. Little did we know that the psychological assessment was done by an unqualified state doctor, and this little girl had severe issues that required more care than my wife and I were prepared for. We spent 5 years dealing with fighting, arguing, runaway attempts, drug use, alcohol abuse, constant emotional manipulation, constant lying, stealing, etc. She was also in constant contact with her schizophrenic birth mother behind our backs. The woman kept feeding our daughter conspiracy theories and lies and constantly making the situation worse for all of us. We tried the best we could for 5 whole years, trying various different therapists, trying different parenting methods, seeing different doctors, all to no avail. It wasn't until about 5 months before her 18th birthday that we had to have her committed, and we finally got a proper diagnosis. She was diagnosed with bipolar and BPD, and we finally had an answer to the years of heck we all had to go through. We did our research and learned the proper way to parent a child with these conditions, and things began to improve over the last few months she was with us, but on her 18th birthday she bailed and we haven't seen her since. That was 5 years ago. She, Asian, became my daughter when she was 6. About the same age as my biological, European, daughter. She has been diligent all her life. It was often difficult to get her to show emotions. But she just kept going, worked hard at school, just by sheer persistence. She got a very good university degree and married a great guy. She insisted to keep her maiden, my, name because it was so difficult to get that name still not showing many emotions, just Chitin ahead. She is my daughter, exactly like my biological kids. I love her to bits. I am so proud of her. Just praying that life will not throw her a curveball, but I suppose every parent does that. Just praying that life will not throw her a curveball, but I suppose every parent does that. They do. Just be there for them as best you can when life does, because it has a way of doing that. I adopted an older child, and the only part I regret was agreeing to an open adoption with the birth parents, separate biannual visits with bio mom and bio dad. Each and every visit was sheer heck on earth, from the build-up to the fallout after. I regret nothing about adopting an older child and would do it again in a heartbeat, but I would do a closed adoption. Can I ask why the bio-parent visits are hellish? I'm from the other side of this question. I was adopted when I was 5 by a couple of narcissists that adopted children so they could say they did. I was a pretty screwed up kid even by then. They were obviously told that. Both being master's plus degree teachers were determined to fix me. So I got these people in my life that expected adult behavior and decisions from a child. I was slightly physically abused, and just wrecked emotionally the entire time. No affection was ever displayed. Their favorite line was, "We put food on the table and a roof overhead, what more could you want?" There was never any type of teaching of life skills like money handling or goal setting. Looking back now, negative feedback was the only way I learned anything. My dad made it clear that I would join the army out of high school. I did, and it was the worst thing I could have done as a screwed up young adult. So just consider what your real motivation is behind adopting kids. Are you trying to give them a better life? Or are you just wanting something more complex than your cat to post on Facebook? My wife and I adopted a 16-year-old boy over a year ago. We originally went in thinking we are going to adopt much younger, but when we started reviewing profiles there were a large number of teenagers in the mix. Most people adopting children are looking for the full parental experience. For some, adoption is their only chance at raising a child, so I can kind of understand the desire to adopt a young child. The result is that the older children are skipped over. It's heartbreaking, as many unadopted kids exit the system at 18 and almost all of their supports disappear. We kept running into these profiles and it was impossible to ignore them. We were adopting to expand our family, already having kids of our own, so parenting wasn't new to us. He's been a great addition and has blended really well. How old are your bio kids? We have 2 small kids, 1 and 3 and are looking into adopting a kid older than them. Some people don't recommend adopting out of birth order, but we're convinced it would work for us, and that age isn't important, but the kid themselves. I have adopted 6 kids. 4 were between 7 and 13, a sibling set, and then 2 that were younger. 3 and 5, a different sibling set. It has gone mostly well. There has been a lot of therapy and issues due to past abuse. The hardest part has been learning how to redefine what it means to be a successful parent. It is also challenging discovering deficiencies in their upbringing. I did learn how to do creative parenting reading through this thread. People who adopted siblings generally had a better time. Do you think that the support they give each other is part of that? I took in my now son when he was 8, my daughter, his big sister, a few years later at 14. We went into the situation looking for a newborn, and were asked to respite the boy for a few weeks, just until a bed at the local teen ranch opened up. We've been through tantrums, years of rage, suicide attempts, drug troubles, the works. But getting to watch these kids go from psychotic depressed cast-offs to actual human adults is the proudest accomplishment of my life. She's gone from a self-harming and constantly depressed girl that I wasn't sure would live very long to a bright and hilarious girl who's preparing for her first semester of college. He's gone through a similarly dramatic change. If you can take that first long period of acting out in drama, then I'd strongly recommend it. I don't regret it, and I do recommend other parents look into older children. There are an abundance of children who need loving parents. We adopted 2 siblings and we also have 2 biological children. Our biological children were 9 and 7 when we adopted our 5 and 4-year-old children. That was 11 years ago. Best advice: embrace an open adoption, but adopted parents fully control any contact. Our kids' biological mother has been a huge help in counseling our kids. They misremembered so many details about how and why we adopted them that lead to blame against us and challenges in our relationship. They have a fierce loyalty to their biological mom that's decreased over time as she's openly reminded them how unfit she was. It wasn't a cakewalk, but we are all much better off than we were when we stumbled into this. We adopted a sibling group of 5. They were 12, 10, 9, 8 and 3. We are only 2.5 years in and the first 2 years were just pure chaos. It's like a cycle of trial and error as well as them testing us. Each child is growing at their own rate and making great progress and healing. That's something. Can you give some more details? For example, where do you live, approximately, how old are you both, what kind of hobbies do you have, how is support from the state for these situations, and mostly how did you get to this decision? My kids were removed from their parents' care and placed with my in-laws as part of a familial care placement at the ages of 7 and 9. My wife and I started caring for them 3 months after that. We were granted legal guardianship about 16 months after the placement. In November of last year we were finally able to adopt them. Coming from someone who never wanted kids, it has honestly been fulfilling to see the huge leaps and bounds these 2 have taken. The youngest, when placed with us at age 7, had never been to school, couldn't read, didn't know shapes or colors, and still talked like a toddler. Just a few years down the road and now she is the top of her class and we couldn't be more proud. When they were removed from bio parents, the youngest had lice so bad you couldn't run a brush through her hair, they slept on a mattress in the middle of the floor with no water or electric in the house, and they survived eating nothing but ramen noodles. We adopted 5 times. 2 came into our family when they were each 9 years old. Adopted at different times. They are now 30 and 27 years old. The term used in the adoption community is adopting kids from hard places. It's important to get the training that helps develop good parenting tools and strategies. Our kids experience trauma. So how are they today? Amazing young women. These kids need time to learn to just be kids and to heal and trust. One bonded pretty quickly. The other had to work through some stuff but eventually got there. Today they are deeply attached and doing very well in life. The key for us was to not look at their ages and compare them developmentally and emotionally to their same age peers. They were stuck emotionally at younger ages. So what if Hay started college at 22? And boyfriends? When they are chronologically age 18 but emotionally 12, that's not a great idea. By being open and developing a deep and loving relationship, while helping them to understand their own stages of life, they were able to accept and embrace that they needed more time to mature and reach milestones. Today they are thriving. It's very worth it. Before I start, I just want to say thank you if you are thinking of adopting. There are so many unwanted children in the world, especially older ones, and after the age of 8 their chance of leaving the foster system diminishes drastically. With that being said, I have witnessed firsthand the absolute hellscape that can come from not being cautious during the adoption process with older children. Make darn sure that you have the full story of their history and if possible a psych eval. My aunt, practically a second mother to my sister, and I adopted 2 little girls a number of years ago when they were 7 and 5, sisters. They were sexually abused by their father and brothers for most of their early lives, and the state adoption agency did not reveal any of this until after the ink was dry on the adoption. The first 3 months were fine as could be, but then the older daughter began running away in the middle of the night, hiding kitchen knives under her pillow, telling teachers that her mother cuts her, etc. After threatening her sister and my aunt with a knife, my aunt ended up having to have her admitted to a long-term psychiatric hospital. Thankfully the younger daughter is doing very well without her sister in the home, but this story took place over almost 4 years, with the older girl slowly getting worse and worse before having to be admitted. I am not a parent, but I was adopted when I was 7 by my wonderful parents. I can tell you I don't remember a lot from that time, but I can clearly remember the day I was adopted, best day of my life. Me and my parents have had some fights and whatnot, but now that I'm in my 20s we both understand how great it was to have each other in our lives. Who knows where I would be right now without them. Great story, thanks for posting it. I didn't adopt a child, because I'm only 18, but I do have 4 adopted brothers. Their ages are 15, 10, 10, and 8 along with my biological 17-year-old brother. We're all boys. Each of my adopted brothers has various problems with their mental health, from ADHD to severe PTSD, sensory issues, to simple learning disorders, and besides one of the 10-year-olds, each of them has gone through extremely traumatizing experiences. The 15-year-old is a kleptomaniac and a compulsive liar. He's been my brother for 7 years now, and he has gotten a lot better, but it was not an easy road. He's gone to therapy, gone through phases where he doesn't lie or steal, but his issues still aren't gone. It's not an easy road by any means, and I would only consider adopting an older child if you are able to be extremely patient, strong-willed, and kind. This is a difficult balance of traits, but it's needed. I plan on having my own kids in the future, and then after they grow up and are out of the house I look to foster older teens, and just be a resource for them. Sorry for kind of jumping all over the place, but if anyone has any questions or wants me to elaborate on anything, feel free to ask. My family is a foster family, so we take care of kids if their parents can't. This is usually for a short amount of time, but for years ago we got a girl that was supposed to stay for 6 months. And well, she is still here and is a part of the family now. I've talked a lot with my parents about it and they say they have never regretted adopting her. We do notice that she has some behavioral problems caused by her bad childhood, but we all try our best to help her. This is what my parents have said to people asking this exact question: you will love them just as much as your own kids, you just have to realize that they might need a bit more support and love depending on what their childhood was like. As an adopted child, my biggest regret was telling the woman, my mom, that took me from the system and into her life, "I wish you never adopted me." If you have a child that has said those words, they do not mean it. They are naive and have not yet had the time to grow up under your wings. Keep it up and they will learn to love you. Might take some time though. Have you ever told her this? She probably knows you didn't mean it, but it would probably mean the world to hear it. Smile. I adopted a kid who was nearly 6. She had spent most of her childhood with a family member, then several months in an orphanage prior to the adoption. She seems to have more physical scars than emotional ones. She seemed so eager to be out of the orphanage that she never looked back. Parenting her has been a breeze. She is now an adult. She's the best. I also adopted a kid who was under 5, but had spent all her life in an orphanage. She had attachment disorder, and raising her was incredibly difficult. Had I truly known what was coming, I probably would have chosen differently. I was completely unprepared. My partner and I adopted a 14-year-old girl a few years ago. She's 16 now and I won't presume to speak for her, but we haven't regretted it the tiniest bit. The process was daunting and her bio family is still involved in her life, though we try to mitigate the damage that it can do because there was a reason both she and CPS wanted her out of that situation. Overall, she's a much happier person now and is making amazing strides in her emotional security and education. My only regret is that, because of her past, she can't really develop a relationship with me as much as my partner. Those two are peas in a pod. But I do my best to provide a safe home for her, no matter what, and the best start to the future that I can manage.